Are you looking to become an influencer, affiliate marketer, or become involved in brand partnership? Well, if so, today's episode is for you. Our guest, Amber Shaw, turns kale into confetti and is here to help you take home the gold when it comes to self-care. Join us for an episode where good vibes and green smoothies collide. Lady bosses, are you working even after putting the kids to bed but still not getting results?
Are you tired of spending money on ads that aren't getting engagement?
Do you feel burdened that you aren't fulfilling your purpose in life because you are so consumed with work?
I'm your host, Brooke Boltz. I'm an attorney and founder of Boltz Legal. I started my business and in 1 year was bringing in 7 figures and am now bringing in multi-7 figures.
And I'm your co-host, Rachel Boltz, owner of Boltz Media. I've helped many businesses build their online presence and increase their revenue through digital marketing.
Want to hear how we did it?
We are here to help you achieve your goals personally, professionally, and spiritually.
So kick off your high heels, sit back, and let's ignite that passion.
We're Miss Biz, where we're putting the Miss in biz.
Let's get biz done. Today is going to be a trip down memory lane. I am here with the one and only Amber Shaw of the Wellness Revolution podcast, who is also a wellness coach who has a huge social media following, 276,000 followers on TikTok, 25,000 followers on Instagram. She has just become a wellness, health and fitness sensation. And I have the honor of having known her before it all when she was in high school. We actually went to high school together, and I am so excited to talk about the past, present, and future because she is an all-around superstar, someone that I look up to in a lot of different ways and have for, since high school. So welcome to the show, Amber. Thank you so much for joining us on Miss Biz.
I mean, I'm going to use that every day for my freaking hype, just my own hype motivation. Okay. So thank you so much for such a beautiful welcome. I am so excited to be here.
Well, thank you for being here. And I wanted to just kind of start by going back in time because I was wondering first I want to tell you how I remember you from high school.
Oh, Lord, here we go.
And then I want you to tell me how you remember me from high school.
Oh my goodness.
And I don't know how much I want to hear that, but I'm an open book. So I want to tell you that the things that I remember about you were you were the girl who had it all together. She was the captain of the cheerleading squad, and I was on the cheer team too. So I looked up to her because she was the captain. She was an incredible cheerleader and all around athlete. Did you do track too? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
So she was in the best shape of anyone in the class. She was super fit and she was super popular. Everybody wanted to be her friend, but she wasn't just popular. She was smart. She was in the IB program. So she always did really well in her classes. And also you were kind of a little bit of a firecracker. Like people didn't mess with you. You were really spoke your mind. We had a couple classes together. I remember Spanish specifically we had together. And you spoke your mind to Miss.
Was that Miss Cabrera? Oh yeah.
Yes.
Was that Miss Cabrera? That's because she. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yes. And so she was just kind of the epitome of high school, who everyone would want to be in high school, but most of us are not. But Amber was that person. So that's how I remember you from high school. How do you remember me?
Well, what I want to say before I do that is I just want to say,
Yeah.
it's so funny though that's how, and I was like teared up when you say like that's how you remembered me because, and I talk about this a lot on my podcast and in my practice because it's so funny that what sometimes people front face and put out there is so not what matches what's on the inside. Because I can tell you that, yes, I mean, I agree. Like I've always been kind of speak my mind, firecracker, showing a lot of confidence and all those things. And I work really hard in my academics and my sports and all of that. But underneath all of that was actually a very, very insecure girl, very, very insecure. A girl who really had so much external value placed on my body and the way that I looked. There was a girl who really, really strove for like perfection and had a massive fear of failure. And so, these are all things that patterns and beliefs and all of this that later in my life really led to like an eating disorder and like, just unhealthy relationship with food and all these other things. But it's just so funny. So first of all, I just want to say thank you I receive all of that. That means a lot to me, but it's just really funny though, looking back, I'm like, gosh, I didn't feel a lot of that. Okay. So how to remember you, it's so funny. You for me were always a little bit, but I think because I was older, so maybe like I didn't get to see like the full Brooke, but I would say like I always remembered you as just being definitely obviously athletic. Because what did you do? Did you do weightlifting too, or am I like making that up?
That's true.
You did. Oh my God. So funny. I remember. Okay. So you did weightlifting. And I remember obviously you were in cheerleading. And so you were obviously very athletic and very smart because you were in IB as well. Right. But you, to me, were always a little bit more quiet. Do you remember being more quiet? Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was gonna say, I just remember you being definitely a lot more shy. And again, maybe that's because I was older and you weren't showing me your full personality, but I just remember you being definitely more a little bit to yourself, a little bit more quiet. When we were on, cheering together, you were definitely one that never, was a real jerk to me or anything like that. Like we always, like you were just super sweet and but like I said, a little bit more quiet and a little bit more to yourself, I feel like.
I think I was even more quiet around you because I was intimidated by you. So I tend to do that when I'm around someone who is just a big personality. I kind of shut down. But you're right. In high school, I was quiet. And we've talked about that on the show before, that I am naturally an introverted person that has kind of pushed myself out of my shell to grow personally, but also to grow in my business. But that is definitely my nature, is to kind of be a little more quiet. And in high school, people used to tell me that I looked like I wanted to kill someone.
I don't know if I remember that, but I definitely remember just you were, definitely a little bit more quiet, a little bit more to yourself. You were not like an overly emotional person like some of the rest of us. That's what I remember.
So as captain of the cheerleading squad and as a cheerleader in high school, our coach gave us nicknames. And do you remember what your high school cheer nickname was?
So, I was thinking about this because we were chatting about this earlier, and I swear, but like, here's the thing, like, I could be making this up. Maybe somebody in college gave me this nickname, but somewhere along the line, I did get the name of like Xena, because this was when like Xena Warrior Princess was around. And I just, honest to God, I cannot remember if that was in high school or if I need to call Adrian Fisher and ask Adrian or some of the other girls on the team and see, because I can't remember, but that's the one that comes up for me, but I could be way off.
That seems on point for you. Xena
Okay.
Warrior Princess seems right. I think you got your nickname. I was a year younger, so I don't think I was on the team with you at the time you got the nickname, so I don't remember. But that seems definitely on brand with who I perceived you as, someone who was strong and a leader and just had it all together, like Xena the Warrior Princess.
So funny. I freaking love it.
So you've always been in shape from my perspective, and you've always been really fit and all about the nutrition and coaching aspect. How did you get into that as a profession?
Yeah, yeah. It was definitely not. It started as a side hustle. I mean, I can tell you, so I'll be 45 next month and, oh, actually this month. And when I was turning 40, at this point in my life, I had from the outside looking in, a pretty picturesque life. I had two very beautiful and healthy children. I was married to a man that I'd known since I was 7. You even know him as well, Brooke, Frank Bayek. And he's a very successful lawyer. I have a very successful, very lucrative sales career that I'd been in at that point for almost 18 years. And life from the outside looking in looked really damn good. But what people didn't know is that from the inside looking out, it was a hot mess. My marriage was totally crumbling and falling apart. I was very complacent in my sales job. I just had this like burning feeling that I was meant for so much more. But as I'm sure a lot of people probably a lot of people listening to this show, maybe they want to start a side hustle, or maybe they are a new entrepreneur. When you get that feeling that your purpose is for so much more than what you're doing, it's hard to not listen to that. But you can feel trapped. It can feel very scary, especially if you're somebody who's been in a very secure job for so long. And so for me at that time, I knew, and let me also add, I was also very unhappy with myself. I was tired of living in this world of focusing so much on the physical. I was so tired of having such a screwed up relationship with food, dieting one diet to the next. I had gained a lot of weight with both my pregnancies, and I lost the weight, but then but it was a very unhealthy way. A lot of my eating disorder tendencies were starting to come back, and I was just really, really in not a good place. And so I just decided I was getting ready to turn 40, and I went on a yoga retreat. I was supposed to go to freaking a Girls Gone Wild trip to Cabo. Okay. But I canceled all that because my life was in shambles. And I was like, I'm going to go do this introspective yoga retreat. And I went with the intention, because I couldn't figure out all of my life at that point, but I knew I went with the intention of figuring out, what do I want my next 40 years to look like as far as my career? What do I want that to look like? Because I was tired of sales. And so I just spent a lot of time on that trip, really thinking about that. And really, I'm a very spiritual person. So I spent a lot of time just leaning into God and thinking about, what do I want that to look like? And it just hit me that I was supposed to be a coach, that I got the loud and clear message that all of the suffering and the pain that I was going through, although I didn't understand at the time, and I was, it's not what I wanted, I really did get the overwhelming feeling that it was not in vain, that I was supposed to be that's exactly where I was supposed to be. And I was supposed to take everything that I was learning in my own personal transformation and all the work I was doing on myself and all of it, and I was supposed to help other women with it. And so I'm the kind of person that because I am a spiritual person, when I hear a message, I believe it. And so I came back, and I think like a lot of new entrepreneurs that hear that calling, but they're not sure what to do with it. I wasn't exactly sure what all that meant. I just knew I needed to take some action. So I really started leaning into, what are my passions? What do I love to do? What do I know about? And, obviously, since you even said, even since high school, it's not a secret, always nutrition and health and wellness and all that has been a big part of my life. And so I immediately came back and enrolled in the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. It was a year-long program. And I really just started taking steps to start this side hustle in this coaching space, which I eventually, fortunately was able to take full time and build it to what it is today. But that's really how I got started making that big jump from a very cush, multiple 6-figure job a year to starting my own gig.
Well, first, I want to commend you on being able to recognize that there was so much more out there for you, and to be able to do that on top of what you were battling internally really speaks a lot in terms of just your strength and your drive. And being able to recognize your purpose as well. There are so many people in society today that don't really know what their purpose and calling in life is. So I loved that you mentioned that and kind of shared the story of how that all came about. So you went to school, you got the education that you needed to get to the next step. So then how did you get from going to school to kind of transitioning from that side hustle to where you are today?
Yeah, well, I would say for me, for sure, it was definitely right place at the right time, but not completely. The very first thing I did, well, I would tell you, is I hired a mentor. Anybody that is looking to start their own business, whether it's a side hustle or it's like a full-time gig, hire a friggin' mentor. You can write it off. It will just save you from all of the BS of trying to figure it out yourself, especially if you're trying to do it in the online space. The online space, people underestimate how nuanced the online space is. And so I hired a mentor. And so for me, it was starting to work with a mentor so that when my first video went viral on TikTok, I actually had a business in place. I actually had a program that I was ready to coach people on. I had a website. Like I was getting some of these things, set up and ready, so that when, all the efforts I was doing on social media, when it finally kind of got my break there, then I was ready for it. I will also say though, you don't have to go viral to create a business. I just want to make sure that everybody listening understands that. For me, that is just part of my story, that I grew a TikTok platform very quickly. It really was what catapulted my specific business, but I coach a lot of women in the business space. And I will tell you that you just need an audience that trusts you and that you connect with and that you can solve their problem. That is all that you need. I think that a lot of people think that you have to, go viral, have millions of followers and all this, but I got to tell you, there's lots of creators out there that have millions of followers that don't know how to monetize their social media. So you don't have to go viral to do it, but that was really, so I would say the two biggest things is, hiring a mentor. So I was ready for it. And then just being consistent with the efforts that I was doing on my social media, and the other things to grow the business.
If you enjoy the Miss Biz podcast, but still have questions or need advice, we have some exciting news for you. Join us for Miss Biz Connects. Miss Biz Connects is a weekly 1-hour Zoom call on Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
This is 1 hour each week dedicated to you. We want to meet you and put our brains together to help you grow personally, professionally, and spiritually.
To access the meeting link, visit us on our social media pages at Miss Biz Podcast or send us an email to missbizpod@gmail.com.
Join us this Friday and let's grow the Miss Biz Nation.
That is great advice. I love your recommendation to hire a mentor. I think that is the fastest way to get where you're going quickly. And mentors can be expensive. They can be an upfront investment, but I agree with you that trying to learn everything yourself, which is kind of what I did, little by little, trying to have my own failures and successes just took me so much longer than if I would have realized the value of having a mentor in the beginning. Just biting the bullet, paying the money, and having someone help guide you is incredibly valuable. So you are in the space of a ton of competition, and I can relate to that as a lawyer. Law firms are incredibly competitive. You can't drive 100 yards without passing 5 lawyer billboards. And it's kind of the same on social media, at least with the wellness coaches, the health and wellness coaches and the fitness gurus. And so for you to try to create a name and a brand in that environment must have been incredibly challenging. What are some of the things that you did to try to set yourself apart and to find those people who knew, like, and trusted you to start building your following?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think first and foremost, you really have to let go of the idea that there are people out there just like you, right? I know that sounds like a typical mindset thing, but it really is true. You really are unique. You are the one and only you, and you. Even though there's 50, however many wellness coaches out there you might be competing with, like you only you have the ability to speak to your ideal client the way that you do, and you're not going to connect with everybody, right? You're not going to connect with everybody. But I would say from like a just straight up strategic, standpoint, number one, you've got to get crystal clear on exactly who you're talking to. I think one of the biggest mistakes that new entrepreneurs make is that, especially in the coaching space, is that they, coaches typically are good at a lot of different stuff, right? There's a kind of have a lot of different wheelhouses that we can be good at. But when you're first trying to make a name for yourself, you can't focus on all the things. You got to get really, really clear on one thing. For a perfect example of this is like Lewis Howes, right? He used to, I think, do LinkedIn stuff, and now he's like this huge personal development guy, right? But he couldn't have just started with like the personal development stuff. You have to get very, very specific on who you're talking to. When I say who you're talking to, I'm talking about one person. You literally do the avatar work where you pick one person that you're talking to in all of your social media, all of your messaging, all of your landing pages, like all of that is geared toward the one person, because you've got to build a following where you can build trust. And then once you've established that trust, then you are able to start making the pivot. I mean, this is transparently, this is exactly what I'm experiencing in my business. I've been for so long a sustainable weight loss coach. And although sustainable weight loss and health and wellness will always be a piece of what I do, I am absolutely moving more into more personal development, helping entrepreneurs with their business and their health and wellness, and all of that kind of wrapped up in one. But I never could have gotten there if I didn't focus on the one thing. So it's basically like you got to put your dues in, you got to put your time in, and that does take a few years. I mean, I'm going on year 5 in my business, and I'm just now making that shift. So it does take some time, but I think that's the biggest thing. When you're first getting going, the way to differentiate yourself is to get real specific.
I love that. And that is something that I hear all the time, riches in the niches, really niching down, figuring out who you're talking to and what your specific topic is. That is wonderful advice. So when you talked about that you had your first viral video and then you've had many since then, for someone who's just trying to decide what kind of content to create and how to make it shareable or likable, what would be some tips you would have for them on how to create a video that has the best potential to go viral or to build that trusting relationship?
So I think when you are creating short form video or social media video, you have to be really clear on the first thing is getting really clear on what your intention is. Is your intention just to go viral, or is your intention to attract your ideal client? Right? Like there's a big difference. People sometimes get confused with the two. And if you're really trying to use social media as a tool to grow your business, then you don't need to worry about going viral. What you got to worry about is, are you attracting your ideal client? That's like the first and foremost. And so if that's the tension, right? Because at the end of the day, having somebody, I can remember one time I had a video that went viral on Instagram, and like I ended up with like 3,000 followers of all Indian men. I was like, well, that's great. But I got more marriage proposals than I knew what to do with. But I was like, but that's not going to move the needle and making, I don't need vanity metrics. I would like to produce, I want to generate revenue, right? So I think that's first and foremost, right? Getting really clear on what your intention is. And if you're using it as a tool to grow business, then it is, and whether that's at brand partnerships or it's to propel like some sort of like consulting or coaching or products business or whatever it is, getting clear on that. And so then I would say the second thing of that is really getting crystal clear on what your potential, your ideal client, what are their pain points, right? Like, what are they struggling with? What's the problem you solve for them? And a really easy formula for, to start out with on like social media, on TikTok, is making the hook, the first 3 seconds, 3 to 4 seconds, making that your ideal client's pain point, whether it's a question, are you struggling with because in you have about 3 seconds to get someone's attention. This is on Reels, this is on TikTok. And so it's using those first 3 seconds to address their specific pain points, right? And then just doing a couple short clips after that, maybe do an under 30-second video of now what's the solution? How are you going to solve that? Right? That's a really easy formula. Just doing a simple talking head, educational. You don't need to do all the bells and whistles. If content to you feels really overwhelming, which it can, and it feels really exhausting, start with that one formula. Just start. I mean, I've had so many of my videos be really successful by just doing that.
I love that advice. So I guess for me, I want to ask you about brand partnerships, because I know that that is something that a lot of our listeners aspire to accomplish. And brand partnerships, if you're not familiar, is where, and you can help me with this definition because you know it better than I do. But as I understand it, it is when brands approach you and want to have a contract with you where you sort of represent their brand and they pay you for doing TikTok videos or doing just certain things to promote their brand. And I know that that is of interest to a lot of listeners. But from my perspective, I always thought that in order to have brands be interested in you, you would need to have a big following first. Is that not true?
Absolutely not. That's not true at all. And in fact, what brands care about is engagement. Right? Brands care about the engagement on your page. Do you have a loyal following? Because at the end of the day, the whole goal of the collaboration is for you to help you. And there's different, sometimes like as far as maybe they're just wanting to get the word out, but at the end of the day, it's to drive sales, right? Like brands want to collaborate with you to drive sales. And so that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is that you have to have a large following in order to have brand partnerships. In fact, some of the most lucrative brand partnerships I've seen with creators can be even like nano creators, micro creators, like even creators who have under 10,000 followers, under 5,000 followers. It's do your people want to pick up what you're putting down? Do they want to buy? Do they trust you? That's what it matters. And so it is about building that community, about, having that engagement when they're commenting on your page, where your followers really feel connected to you. And so if you are somebody who wants to start getting into brand partnerships, start with your community. Start and really building a strong community on your social media following, in your email list, so that they trust you. I think that's kind of my biggest advice. But yeah, that's a big misconception for sure.
So when you talk about building a community, is that like starting a Facebook group? Is that what you mean?
I mean, it could be that, but it also could be that when you do your posts on social media and people comment, you are quick to comment back. You start engaging in conversations. Maybe you start trying to get them into your DMs and have conversations, not necessarily to sell them anything or do that, but just get to know them. People want to feel connected, right? In your stories, you really being active throughout the day, what's the word I'm looking for? Chronologically, like documenting, that's the word, documenting your day, because people want to get to know you, right? So showing a little bit more of your personal side, putting polls in there to up engagement, right? Again, it's just really trying to find ways on your social media to interact with your followers. And that's really kind of the best way to do that.
So in terms of creating content for some of these brand partnership opportunities, between, creating the hook, creating the actual solution, and scheduling on all these different platforms, how much time do you think it takes, either daily or weekly, and how often should people be posting these videos?
Well, are you talking about when you're in a partnership with the brand, or just regularly? Like,
I mean, regularly, like if you're trying to get approached by those brand partnerships.
oh, okay, right. So just how often should you be like posting on social media to get there, right? You know, I think that is a tough question. I will say, particular. I mean, it's just because there's like no right answer, but this is what I'll say. Number one, whatever you agree, like whatever you kind of map out for your own business to that's your cadence for posting. The biggest thing is being consistent with it, right? Because the thing is what a lot of people don't realize is that if you're not consistently showing up on social media, it already creates this like subconscious thought for the people who are following you that you're just not consistent. You want to buy from people who are consistent, that show up, right? So, you know, sometimes, posting every single day might not, be aligned with whatever else that you have going on, and that's okay. But just whatever you commit to. I will say, if you are brand new and trying to grow social media, posting once a day will definitely up your chances for growing a following, for sure. I mean, and some TikTok coaches will even say twice a day. I personally, the only time I ever did twice a day, I did it for 2 weeks as a test, and I grew 30,000 new followers in 2 weeks from doing twice a day. I just decided for me though, as a single working mom, like, no, I just can't do this anymore. Like with all the other things I had going on. So I think that, that's the first thing is just whatever you commit to. So for instance, even my podcast, right? Like I have a podcast I release Mondays and Thursdays, and it's just, the key is it's just being consistent with it. Consistent. That's number one. Number two, I think that, as far as how much time it takes, it depends on where you are in it. I can tell you that when I first started, holy God, I could do one like 30-second video and it'd take me like 30 minutes. Okay. Because it was like, I was so particular. I would like had to re-record. It was like the whole thing. The more you get the reps in, the faster you'll get with it. I also am a big believer though of like batching content. So like forever, what I would do is on Mondays, I would map out the videos that I wanted to record for the week. And then I would on Tuesday, I would just go and record them. I wouldn't even like do all the videos. I would just like record them all. And then I would go back and like on Wednesday and start to edit some of them really quickly. Right. But I would never try and do it. For me personally, it never worked that if I had to feel the stress of like putting out a new piece of content every day, because sometimes your days are up and down, right? You get a bunch of coaching calls or whatever that looks like, that can feel hard. So I'm just a big believer in staying consistent and then batching and really just time management and let me also say, I'm also a big believer in like recycling content as well, right? Just finding little tips and tricks to make it a little bit easier for sure.
You know we're all about that case, no trouble. All about that case, no trouble. All about that case, no trouble. All about that case.
At Bolts Legal, we are all about your case. Text or call to schedule a free consultation for all your legal needs. boltslegal.com.
I love that. Efficiency is what it's all about as a working business mom, whether it is your eating habits or your business. Doing things quickly and effectively is the only way for me that I can stay consistent with something, is if I'm doing it efficient and I can do it and I have a plan, and like you suggested. So our podcast is centered around extreme marketing, and knowing you've probably done some pretty extreme things in your life. So what would you say is something extreme, the most extreme thing that you've done either in your business or your personal life? And if you haven't done anything too extreme, then what's something extreme that you aspire to do?
I mean, do you mean extreme or do you mean stupid? Because I've done a lot of stupid stuff. Okay. Like let's clarify here. Do you mean extreme to where it is, like I just sort of went all in and was like, okay, I'm just going to trust, like, let's just do this. Is that?
Yeah, I think so.
I think one of the biggest things, this goes back to the mentor, but every time I've hired a mentor, I'm like, oh God, that feels really scary because that's a lot of money. But I think for me, like just trusting that, that I was going to make that money back tenfold. I think that was a huge, that's always like a huge kind of like scary moment for me. You know, that's really a tough one, but I just don't know that I've had like, I think for me, it's just really, like I said, being willing to invest in myself, even when that feels scary, being able to, in my business, do the hard things, even when they feel scary. And really just, because there's lots of days where I'm just constantly talking myself off the ledge, right? Because it can be very stressful as an entrepreneur. But the one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is that when you become an entrepreneur, all of a sudden now you have to become, you're the CMO, you're the CEO, you're the CFO, you're the coach, you're the social media director, you're like all these things. And I was like, holy, like these are not skill sets that just came, a lot of them that came naturally to me. I had to learn a lot of them. And so I think for me, it's just constantly like striving to, better myself in all these different areas, even when they feel really hard. But I'm like, yeah, if we're talking about dumb stuff, I've done a lot of dumb stuff, but like, as far as extreme like that, I think it's really kind of like a day in and day out of just really trusting that this is like exactly where I'm supposed to be and just kind of staying the course.
I love that. So I got to know, someone as fit as you, and I think our listeners are going to be interested in this as well. What would be your top 3 fitness tips that you could give to someone who is looking to get in better shape and feel better about how they look?
Okay. So number 1, strength train. 1,000%. I'm not just talking to my ladies over 40. I'm just talking to everybody. Strength train for sure. Number 2, I would say protein. Now you don't need to go like crazy with it. But most people, undereat protein. And that's a huge, huge piece of it. And then I would say the third thing is don't underestimate restoration and like rest and relaxation. And also like, I think I was guilty of this for so long of like, I just figured like, if I didn't die at every workout, right? Like if I didn't murder myself at every workout, then I wasn't doing it right. And, at the age of 45, I realize now that restorative exercise, going for walks, coupled with the strength training, not doing these long, massive bouts of cardio, that's actually way more effective. Just even neurologically too, right? And we're not, especially for our entrepreneurs who are already under tons of stress all the time, not eating enough and over exercising is absolutely the way to just totally throw your hormones out of whack. This is for men and women. And so, yeah, I think those would be my top 3. It's strength training, get more protein, and do some more walks.
Love that. So we have a surprise for you.
Okay. Oh my God. I love it.
And we wrote a jingle about you.
I have to say that this is a first and I'm fired up.
Yay. Well, that was what I was hoping for. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. But we're going to play it for you. Hopefully technology is our friend, but we'll send it to you as well so you can look at it a little closer. But
I mean, are you going to give me permission to share this all over social media or no?
Oh,
I mean, if someone writes a jingle about me, I'm sharing it.
Well, that was our hope. So
perfect.
So if you share it with your huge followers, we will not complain.
Oh my God, I love it.
So here we go. Give me 1 second to share my screen.
Maybe I need to start doing this on my podcast. First of all, that I'm just kidding because nobody wants to hear me sing and I do not play the guitar. So there's that.
All right, here we go. Here's our Amber Shaw.
Oh my God.
Jingle.
Amber Shaw. If you're seeking the truth, she's gonna bring it raw. Secrets that the world keeps quiet. Like you wanna lose weight without a diet. If you gotta start over at the age of 40, or get off the couch and learn to get real sporty. The next guest is the truth. Fire up your health without fire in your sweet tooth. seems like some sort of it girl to me.
Yeah, probably captain of the cheerleading squad or something.
She probably crushes watermelons with her thighs. Amber Shaw, Amber Shaw.
Knowledge drops that'll drop your jaw.
If you want a better solution,
She's got a podcast called The Wellness Revolution.
get ready for some cage-free nuggets.
Grab your almond milk and prepare to chug it.
It's time
For Amber Shaw.
Whenever I started listening to the Wellness Revolution, I threw away those gluten-free air sandwiches.
And yeah, I don't even have to drink fat-free water anymore.
Free-range tofu?
Yep, quit that too.
Are you serious?
Oh my God. That was freaking amazing. You guys are hilarious. And yes, I'm sharing that. Nobody's ever written a jingle about me. That is amazing.
Yeah.
You guys are so great. Listen, if this podcast thing doesn't work out for you guys got to take your show on the road. I'm just kidding. Of course, it's going to work out for you, but you maybe should still take your act on the road. That was amazing. Oh my God. Thank you guys. I mean, my cheeks hurt because that was so great. Oh,
I'm so glad that you liked it. I had a little bit of insider knowledge from having known you back from when you were in high school, but I just want to say that I am so inspired by the person you've become. It's not often that we get to know people early in life who then take off to be such all around superstars, and who you have become. I hope that you now.
So many of my dreams.
Sorry.
So, AMV on
93.5 and 107.5.
Here we go.
yeah.
Okay, that was great. I don't even know what I was saying anymore. But I am so proud of who you become. I'm so proud that I had the opportunity to know you even as a high schooler. I looked up to you then and I look up to you now. And so thank you for being here and for being vulnerable and sharing with us all your successes. And I trust that you are going to continue to blow up in any endeavor that you pursue. And so if people want to follow you, they want to find you, where can they find you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the kind words, and I humbly receive them. That means a lot to me, and I'm just so grateful that we've been able to, stay connected all these years, and just being able to see what you've done also with your life and how much you've grown. And so, thank you. It's an honor from where I sit as well. So, where to find me? So, I am on the Instagram and TikTok, but I love connecting with people. On Instagram, if you want to send me a DM, I'm at MS Amber Shaw, Ms. Amber Shaw. You can also find me at the Wellness Revolution podcast. So yeah, I am all around, and I would love to connect with your listeners.
Amber, it's been an absolute pleasure actually getting to know you. I feel like I already know you because I've been watching you on TikTok and listening to your podcast, but it's just been so beautiful to have you here and really get to know you more in depth. And everything that Brooke said about you prior to even meeting you is true to the 100%. So thank you so much for your time today. And thank you for all the difference that you make in the lives of other women who are on their own wellness journey.
You are so sweet. Thank you so much. And it was so amazing to meet you as well.
We appreciate you and are honored to be on this journey with you. We can't wait to help you, to encourage you, and show you how to grow personally, professionally, and spiritually.
If you found Miss Biz helpful, please leave a review and share with others.
You can follow us on social media at Miss Biz Podcast.
For legal questions or services, please visit boltslegal.com.
And for digital marketing needs, please visit boltsmedia.com. Let's get biz done.